Hello and welcome to the Shoegaze of 93 channel, and today we talk about the 30th anniversary of this, the biggest shoegaze adjacent album of all time, possibly, although it does encompass many styles inside it. Shoegaze, the classic rock of Queen, especially in Billy Corgan's solos, and also grunge. So this album has a foot in many different rock styles: shoegaze, classic rock, progressive rock, and grunge rock. It's also synonymous with a certain pedal. Now, I don't own the normal sized 70s version, but I do own the nano version of it, and that is the Big Muff by Electro Harmonix, built in New York. There is no other album that is synonymous with this EHX Big Muff as much as Siamese Dream by the Smashing Pumpkins. 30 years of it. July 1993. The year I was born. And I am proud of that. Because it's a stunning album. One that draws in many fans, and it got many people into shoegaze. It gave people a little glimpse of what it was all about, wrapped up in a hard rocking progressive sound. Billy Corgan, he got Butch Vig to engineer this album, produce and engineer. That was following the success of Nevermind by Nirvana. And according to a Rick Beato interview, Billy Corgan, Butch Vig vowed to Billy Corgan that he was gonna make Smashing Pumpkins the next big thing. He was gonna make Billy Corgan's Nevermind, and that's what he vowed to do, and that is what he accomplished. And ironically, there's a Garbage song called Vow, which was Butch Vig's band that he formed following production with Sonic Youth, the Smashing Pumpkins, and Nirvana, as well as many others. So he jumped from the recording chair to the drum stool of Garbage, and he's remained in that position to this day, whilst producing other works. But his big work was before that. It was the early 90s. That was his most productive years, with producing Dirty by Sonic Youth as well. Another phenomenal record. Sonic Youth, Dirty. So Billy Corgan definitely knew who to recruit. Now, the real shoegaze connection comes from: who did he get to mix Siamese Dream? Who did he get to mix this wonderful piece of work that I believe is Smashing Pumpkins' biggest statement? They did not even need to sort of carry on after this. I mean, this is a masterpiece, and it's better than Melancholy in my book, because Melancholy and the Sadness, the album that followed this in 1995, too bloated for me. There's certainly some great tracks on there, like Love, There Is No Why, This Is No Why, Zero, Jelly Belly, I think, yeah. Tonight Night, 1979. I really like By Starlight is one of my favourites. Through the Eyes of Ruby definitely has some shoegaze influence on that. But you know, for me, it didn't need to be a double album. I think this was the perfect statement. I think you know, this is everything that you want to hear from the Smashing Pumpkins. This has got everything, their whole sound in one neat, flowing package. Um, so there they are, the members: Billy Corgan, Jimmy Chamberlin, absolutely incredible drummer, beast of a drummer; James Iha, the half Japanese guy, and then you got the beautiful Darcy Retsky. Real shame what happened to her. She kind of fell off the rails, and yeah, there was a lot of like coke addiction in that band. Only Billy and James managed to pull through, but Jimmy and Darcy were really involved in a lot of the dark arts, and you know, Jimmy got fired, didn't he, like multiple times during their career, um, which is a real shame because he's an amazing drummer. And I mean, there's been some good replacements. Don't get me wrong. That youngster that they had in the 2010s, he was real promising, but nothing compares to the power and jazz-trained precision of Jimmy Chamberlin. He's absolutely incredible. Jimmy Chamberlin, absolutely. You bring jazz into a rock environment, and that is, you are firing on all cylinders. You are ticking all the boxes there. Finesse, you know, it's finesse meets power. That's what Jimmy Chamberlin was. It was like he was turning percussion into musical notes. It was that beautiful, the way he can drive a song, the way he can sort of fill all the gaps. Like when a song kind of reaches like a bridge section, and that he would always change the drumming up, and really the drums would be like musical notes. That's the way to explain it. Um, and he's with Los Colbert from Ride. They are my two favourite drummers. Um, Probably Rennie from the Stone Roses, he would be up there as well. But Jimmy Chamberlin and Los Colbert deserve a lot more recognition in the rock music world. You know, it's a shame that Dave Grohl kind of overshadows them just because of he was in the popular band. But anyway, I'm digressing a bit here. So you had Gish, yeah, which had My Bloody Valentine influence. There's My Daydream, the final song on Gish. There was a demo version from like 88 or 89, I think it's 89, and it's with Darcy Retsky singing. And you can just really hear the Lose My Breath on Isn't Anything by MBV, and you can see how much Billy Corgan was really into My Bloody Valentine. He was listening to the Anglo-English shoegaze bands, the British shoegaze bands, and he really likes Slowdive, and he maintains the support even to this day. You know, you watch the documentaries, which, you know, Billy Corgan appears in like every music documentary ever made by man, I think. So it's not hard to find, but particularly Beautiful Noise documentary from 2014. Really, the stuff he was saying there, he was like praising all of the bands, like Cocktail Twins, Ride, Slowdive, Curve. He went to watch Curve back in the 90s. Like he actually flew to England and like watched them in London with like Swallow Curve, like those guys. And yeah, obviously Alan Moulder produced Curve, and hey ho, he got Alan Moulder, who just finished working on Loveless and Curve and Swerve Driver, MBV Curve and Swerve Driver, and he got him to mix Siamese Dream. So you had Butch Big and you had Alan Moulder at the helm, and that's such a dream partnership. Um, you know, for trying to create something that sounded polished, but still that kind of 90s kind of, you know, half gritty, half polished kind of sound, which is my favourite. 90s production is my favourite because of that reason. You know, Radiohead, The Bends, you know, Blur, Stephen Street with Blur on Modern Life is Rubbish, John Leckie with Radiohead, The Bends, and he did Verve, Storm in Heaven. He did Ride's Carnival of Light. So uh, I really 90s production is my favourite because it's not too polished like today's stuff, but it's not too lo-fi either. It's got a grittiness, but it's got a lot of presence and clarity. And I think like people like John Leckie and Nigel Godrich and Alan Moulder and Steve Albini, people like that just really they really got it. Chris Sheldon. Was it Norton? Who's the guy who did Colour and the Shape? Something Norton, isn't it? I think he did Soundgarden's. He did Soundgarden's album as well, Super Unknown, and that is it Norton or something like that? Just looking it up now. Something Norton. Oh, anyway, guys. Yeah. So yeah, Siamese Dream, absolutely massive album, and it's great to be celebrating 30 years of it. I think it's just one of the highlights of the early 90s, and it's one that really, when people think about the Big Muff, they think about that album, how it drenches like every aspect on every song. And I think, James Iha performs it live, but Billy Corgan pretty much did everything bar the drums in the studio for this album. And I think Billy's lead work is very reminiscent of Brian May on this album. It's very Brian May from Queen. It's like Mixolydian kind of scales that he uses with a harmonist pedal. So it sounds like there's like two or more guitars like doing these wild bends all the time, and the bends he performs are like really emotional, and not just emotional because loads of people are, but they're just different. It's not Ionian scale. It's like Mixolydian, Phrygian, definitely we're hearing Mixolydian a lot. Because that's with the flat 6, isn't it? I think it's like Ionian, but it's got this character to it, which it's got a flat 7 in it. So it's all the same apart from the final notes, which is a semitone lower than the Ionian scale. So yeah, just beautiful, like how the solos was not the little licks as well. Like you think about Cherub Rock, the just singing. It's just like a bird singing his solos. And I think he listened to Rick Beato's interview with Billy Corgan, and he states that he actually borrowed like Kevin Shields' like Big Muff for the album, and he actually stayed at their estate or something in Ireland. I think he actually went over there and like met the guys and like slept the night. So he was so close with My Bloody Valentine, and Cherub Rock, but it starts in the E. People say like sounds a bit like a Rush song, because Rush, Queen, Pink Floyd, you definitely get that in there, but you get the grunge rock of like Mudhoney, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, but you get the shoegaze aspect in there as well, the breathy vocals and that Big Muff kind of acting as a sustaining kind of ambience like in the background there, quite forward actually. So that's what makes the those elements work, I think, because he uses the shoegaze kind of fuzzy sustain sound, and it's that wild phaser thing going on, especially during the solos. So that's the shoegaze aspect, and Billy's vocals are the best ever on this album. Like no other album has he reached those levels of vocal awesomeness. Really, like why did he not stay in that whispery style? Because what I like about it was he's really dynamical about it. He was really dynamic with the vocals, because one minute he'd be like ah, ah, yeah, and then he would do that like ah, ah, ah. He would do that iconic rasp sound, and that, you know, he would go into the shout with the let me out, let me out, hey, I wanna do. How I know, wow, yo, yo. It would be like that. So you go from the whisper straight to the shout, and everything's unique about it. And you know, it's great, the change in dynamics, how he goes from the whisper like straight to the that shout, and it's all in his own unique tone of voice. But yeah, Cherub Rock, Quiet, Today, Hummer. Hummer is one. Oh, that might be my favourite off the album. Disarm, Rockets, Geek USA, Mayonnaise. Oh, it's just, that is iconic. A little pre-bend he does, and then like a natural harmonic, and that's Hummer. I went into Hummer then, don't know why. Soma, Mayonnaise. And I like the last two as well. I like Luna and Sweet Sweet. They're just like really short but sweet songs, just to round the album out after such epics, and it kind of works. Like, oh yeah, Silverfuck as well is on there. Yeah, Silverfuck's like 10-minute, like it's got this insane psychedelic section in the middle. Bang bang, you're dead, hole in your head. And where it gets heavy. Oh, Jimmy's snare sound is just phenomenal on that album. But like, yeah, I was gonna say, like Luna and Sweet Sweet, just like they calm everything down, like after such a journey, and it's like a nice, sweet ending. Like you just come down on a parachute from like the wildest flight of your life, like straight from a helicopter or a plane. Like you're doing the skydive, and then Sweet Sweet and Luna, just that's the parachute that your body just folds in on at the end of a mad trip. And yeah, just go listen to it. That's all I've got to say. Coming up to 20 minutes now on this video. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still looking for this producer again. For the colour and the shape. Because I was about 90s producers, and I said like Steve Albini, I said Alan Moulder, John Leckie. Well, John Leckie was more than 90s. He was obviously, he did the lots of the Beatles solo albums, and he did Roy Harper, XTC magazine, a lot of the post-punk guys, folky stuff. Um, who is it again? Oh, that's it. Gil Norton. Gil Norton. That was the other big producer I was thinking of. Chris Sheldon and Gil Norton. Yeah, yeah. I think Gil Norton was really important producer in the 90s for that half gritty, half polished sound. Um, yeah, he's done like everybody that Echo and the Bunnymen, Feeder, Pixies, Counting Crows, James, um, the Distillers, Maximo Park, Jimmy Eat World, Throwing Muses, Pale Saints. Oh, he did Pale Saints, did he? All right. Comforts of Madness, Catherine Wheel, Chrome, Catherine Wheel, Happy Days. Yeah, he did some big stuff. But yeah, gonna wrap this video up now. So yeah, just listen to Siamese Dream tonight and celebrate 30 years. I think it's July the 27th to be accurate. I think to be super accurate, I think it's July the 27th. I don't know if that's UK or US release. You got to remember that the Smashing Pumpkins, they had the biggest indie record um, of all time. I don't know if that still stands, but Billy was saying that Gish, because it was released on Hut Recordings, which is a subsidiary of Virgin Records, that it's the biggest selling indie record of all time. But I don't know if that still stands. Maybe at the time, but I'm not sure if it still stands in 2023. But it probably does, because obviously sales and that of CDs don't really count for much these days. But yeah, and then they went off Hut Records, which I think the Verve, Muse and Revolver were on Hut as well. And then they went to, I guess then they just, Virgin and that picked them up and they went on the major label. They just moved to the major label, like kind of like 4AD artists going to Beggar's Banquet. The equivalent of that, basically. 4AD artists going to Beggar's Banquet. But yeah, I like the artwork, you got the lyrics with it. Space Boy. Oh, Space Boy, yeah, I forgot to mention that one. That's another great little ballad. Just like Disarm. Um, yeah, great ballad. Rocket. Yeah, there we go, guys. Enjoy. Smashing Pumpkins. Listen to this now.